As an IVF specialist, I have always felt that I have changed lives. I still remember when I deliver the baby. I remember that I have seen this child under a microscope. It's cells, 8 cell, 50 cells, and now it's come out live and it's kicking and crying. So that kind of a job satisfaction you can't get anywhere. Okay, so I consider myself, I think, one of the blessed people in this world for God to have, chosen me to become an IVF specialist, because it is one of the greatest gifts you can do, to create life and make such a difference to people. I was born in Pune. I was born to Dr. D.Y. Patil, who is an educationist. So education was really very important in our lives. Right from the beginning, I knew I wanted to become a doctor. There was no question about it at all. It was like, written there. You are going to become a doctor. So, and in those days, I think we were pretty naive and we followed what our parents did. And I think I look at it differently. I think it was a good guide, because it was something when I went into medical school at JJ and all, and I realized that I loved it. I was very passionate about it. I was at a crossroad in my life when I was doing my MD Gynac actually. At that point, it was all about contraception. It was a major thing. NTP, meaning abortions, contraception and everything. And it was infertility. So these were like two crossroads in my life where I had to select between, surgical and technology, then, standard road of contraception versus infertility. And I was like, thinking, what should I do? And I actually took a road which was not taken by many people, and I turned to technology, and I went into IVF, and I realized that I loved it. I just enjoyed it. Even today, I am 50 plus, I'm not going to disclose my age, but I still study. Every day I learn something new, and with the same passion, with the same energy, with the same focus. I just love the line. And I'm so glad at that time I, decided to go this way. So it was really amazing, because it was in that OPD, half the patients used to come to me that saying, "Bacha nahi mangta hai," and half used to come to me ki "Bacha nahi hota hai." So at that OPD, I used to think, yahan se bacha utha ke yahan dal do kya? I used to feel so helpless. And I think today what I am doing, I really love it. I think this technology of IVF, which I'm into, this is a technology which has evolved. It has evolved over the years, become really excellent. And today, I personally feel it is empowering people. It is empowering couples. And I think today, IVF actually, IVF means I create life and I actually build families. It was very early days, this was the 1990s, 95, when I actually started IVF, set up my own lab for IVF. And I was in partnership with Dr. Pai, and we both are still partners today. And when we started, I think the success rate was somewhere around 10 to 15%. And it was really, I still remember we used to make our own molecule water systems and all. It was this humongous contraption which was there, and we used to create this sterile water. And I remember going to Belgium when I was, training for this new technology called ICSI, and we used to pull glass pipettes. We used to make them. Those glass cylinders used to come, and we used to pull and make it into pipettes, and everything was so difficult. I mean, it was a humongous task to do one IVF, because everything was had to be created, had to be perfect, and so the success rate was really low. And to get people to do it was very, very difficult, because IVF had a bad name. People first was the success rate. I mean, most of the gynacs did not believe in it, or the doctors. They said, oh, you don't get success. I mean, hardly, they believe that 2 to 3% was the success rate. When the first baby was born in 1978, Louisa Brown, I met her in US, and I have a lovely picture, and she signed a book and given it to me. It was a fan moment for me. For me, this was the child which was created in the lab for the first time in the world. Oh my God, it was amazing. Even when I met Bob Edwards, it was like, wow. And so the success rate was, that time they did thousands, and I'm not exaggerating, till they got success. Imagine if those guys have given up. So remember, when we IVF people, what we have learned is perseverance, patience. We keep on doing it till we achieve success. I think that is something which anybody who gets into IVF needs to have that. Keep doggedness, focus, going after one thing. We have to strategize how we treat this patient, individualize the treatment. I think all these things. And that, I think, passion comes out to the patient. And initially when I started practice, girls used to come alone. It was like the husband would say, forget it, it is not my fault. Before 1950s, there was no such thing as the husband is responsible for infertility. Can you believe it? The world did not know that there was something called male factor for infertility, that the semen could be responsible for not getting a child, abnormalities of the semen. And this was only brought about by a very, very original paper which was published in 1950s. So you can imagine, when I started in the 90s, men were not willing to come forward. The women would come, they would come with their mother-in-laws, they would come with their mothers. And then if they got pregnant, they would tell me, I'm sending my friend, but don't tell her I had an IVF baby. I mean, it still happens even to date. People don't want to disclose that they've had an IVF baby, because I think our society doesn't accept it. Nearly 10 to 15% of our population is facing infertility. And now we are seeing it rising, probably because of, delayed childbirth. People are getting married late, they're delaying their childbirth. Secondly, there's a lot of unwanted pregnancies which happen, and before marriage, or, unprotected sex which happens, and those can lead to problems. Sexually transmitted diseases are on the rise. And what I am seeing in my practice these days is a lot of girls, because of the effects of pollution or stress or autoimmunity, they are having aging of the ovaries. In fact, there was a very good study which was done, and we realized that, the Indian women aged 5 to 7 years earlier than their Caucasian counterparts. So all these factors do lead to, problems. And I think the technology has really advanced. It's not just IVF now. There are so many advances. And fortunately, I have been at the cutting edge of technology. We've been so passionate about it. We love it. And my whole thought is to see that the pregnancy rate improves. So when I began with the pregnancy rate of literally 10 to 15% in the 90s. And today, the latest technology which I have is the non-invasive chromosome screening, which means we can kind of grade the embryo without even touching the embryo. The genetic screening is done of the embryo, and all these technologies, the genetics, the surrogacy, the embryoscope, the time lapse photography, everything, the poloscope, lasers, they all have brought good prognosis patients. Pregnancy rates go up to 60 to even 90%. Even in IVF, there have been a lot of technologies which I have got by, and they were not successful. Like initially I had bought the Metabolomics, which I had bought. Then it was withdrawn by the company because there was not enough information at that point, and that machine was withdrawn. So we were very upset because it showed a great promise. So yes, there were, in the world there can be failures. Then there was another machine called the Spindle View, it was that time. And it was in 2007 and all. But it didn't really enhance any success rates or anything. But today it has been relaunched and it is giving fantastic results. So the technology has evolved. Today I'm using artificial intelligence in IVF. So everything evolves over time. Some things are successes, some things are failures. Mantras in my life have been self-belief. If you have belief in yourself, it doesn't matter if you fail. In my life, I never say I'm tired, because I believe that if it's something you love doing, you can never be tired. So, a lot of people ask me this question, what is the, key to your energy? I think this one statement which my father told me is the key, that mentally I know that if I love what I'm doing something which I love, I will never be tired and I can work like a powerhouse, So I think it's a fantastic lesson which I learned very early in life.